name's Chris Nelson. My wife is Kim Nelson, and my son is Michael. I am a freight forwarder, so if you need something shipped from here to there, give me a call. I can figure out how to get it there, if it's a box, or if it needs to fly, or if it needs to get on a truck, whatever. I mean, I can talk to anybody about anything. You want to talk about how the sky's green, I can actually prove it to you scientifically, but it's actually kind of blue right now. But yeah, I can talk about anything. And I'm not afraid to talk to people, whether they're listening or not. As everybody kind of giggles knowingly. But I don't have a problem talking to somebody to try to, I suppose with my evangelism and the assimilation role, I talk to people. I don't have any problem talking to them, and I can find something to talk about and usually make them want to run away. But, at least they know that they're here and they're welcome and somebody noticed them. So. When I was 8 years old, my father was hit by a car, and we were pretty much in pretty bad shape. My mom was 8.5 months pregnant. My dad was in the hospital. They weren't sure if he was going to live. It happened on November 3rd, 1978, and my sister was born November 13th, 10 days later. A local church took us in. They brought Christmas, they brought Thanksgiving, they brought everything to us. And I always say it in this way, but it's kind of true. My dad kind of paid him back by sending us to church. And so that's when I met Derek and Darren and his parents. I remember studying the New Testament. We had to memorize the books of the New Testament. Wooddale Baptist Church in Wooddale, Illinois. And I've sent them a letter saying, if you ever wondered if what you did 40 years ago made a difference, it made a difference. But then we moved up here, moved up to Wisconsin. That's from Chicago area. We moved up to Wisconsin, and I started attending a church in Prescott. But then that lasted for about a year or so. And that was it. My parents were not churchgoers. Saw a sermon online and decided to check Hope out. We attended church, the kids in the fellowship hall. Nick and Carl, and I don't remember who else, came over and grabbed our son and said, "You don't sit here, you sit with us kids." And my wife looked at me and said, "We're done looking." That was all it took. Because at the same time, not only were the kids doing that to our son, but everybody was doing that to us in the fellowship hall. So I came to know Christ as a child, but when it really woke up, I was 33, 34. I was working a lot, and I remember struggling to get back into my son's life. He was about 3 years old. I was too busy working, too busy doing my own thing. I was too busy self-involved in myself, and I was a real jerk. And the pastor had given a sermon one day that, on one of the days that we attended, God puts it in your head when you need to go. And the sermon was a 2-year-old game, and anybody who's had little kids and stuff and hang around little kids, play with little kids all the time, they give you something and it's your job to give it back. If you don't know how to play this, don't go near any little kids, because they'll give you keys and you have to give them back. They're not yours to keep, you got to give it back. And he said, God's trying to do this with his love to you. Is he's trying to give you his love, and all you got to do is give it back, and he just keeps showering it on you and showering it on you. And he's doing this in an attempt to get you to realize that he loves you. And I sat there in the church and I did something really stupid, and I challenged God, and I said, this is really what it's like for you to get back into my life when I'm trying to get back into my son's. Just let me know today. And something happened in that church service. And I walked home, or we went home that day, and we were working out in the backyard, and I looked at my wife and I said, you better watch out because something happened. And she said, okay, and just kind of blew it off. I woke up the next day. My boss was smarter. My wife was prettier. Everything was better, and nothing had happened. And we were attending a small group, and that was on Sunday, and by Wednesday, we were in the small group Wednesday night, and as you do small groups, and everybody goes around the room, how was your week? During the introduction to everything, I'm sitting there just bouncing and shaking, and I can't just stop. I just bounce. Everything was just crazy with me right then. And we go around the room, and Kim was on my left, and they go to her first, and they say, how was your week? And she looks at me. She looks at me and says, nobody changes like this on their own. And they said, what? And she just said, nobody changes like this. And so they said, okay. They get to me, and then I just, I could talk, and I'm sitting here crying, and I'm just talking about what's going on and everything. And in the wisdom of the people who were running the small group, they said, okay, ladies downstairs this week, guys upstairs. And as the ladies left the room, 3 guys basically came around me. They opened up the Bible of Proverbs, and they said, you need to read this because this is your wife. You're the moron in this story. I love these guys, and they had earned the right to say that. And it was a tough time. Kim and I were fighting. Things were not good, and it changed overnight. Talk to God. Church doesn't matter. Talk to God if you're lost. I talked to God the one time I was losing everything. And I turned around and said, this is what it's like. I mean, just be real. Challenge him once. You challenge him, he'll live up to the challenge every time. But be real when you're challenging him. Don't just, oh God, if you just get me out of this parking ticket, No. Say, you know what, I really want to know who you are. If this is really what it's like for you, let me know. And then shut up and listen. God was not in the storm. God was not in the earthquake. God was not in the fire, but he was in the gentle breeze. When I woke up that morning, God was in the fact that my boss was smarter. God was in the fact that I didn't feel so much pressure. And that's how I knew that something was going on. So just let him talk to you. Then come find us. God's the answer. We're just people getting together to talk about God himself, but talk to him first and then come find us.